He waved to everyone on the block. He mowed his lawn every Saturday morning. He carried groceries for elderly neighbors and handed out candy at Halloween. To those who lived beside him, he was the definition of a perfect neighbor. Quiet, respectful, reliable. But in the summer of 2019, police tape wrapped around his home shattered that illusion. Behind the neat hedges and tidy porch, detectives unearthed a secret that horrified an entire community. What they found buried in his backyard would expose a chilling double life, one that no one could have imagined. This is the story of how the man everyone trusted hid the darkest truth of all. Rachel Turner was 32 years old, born on March 14, 1987, in Dayton, Ohio. She was the middle child of 3 siblings. Her parents, Margaret and Paul Turner, described her as the light in every room. Rachel had hazel eyes, a warm smile, and a laugh her friends said you could hear before you saw her. She loved photography, especially capturing candid moments at family gatherings. And she worked as a pediatric nurse, a job she had dreamed of since childhood. Her best friend Kelly Martinez later recalled, Rachel was the type of person who would drop everything to help you. If you were sick, she was there with soup. If you were celebrating, she was the one taking photos and making everyone feel special. She had her own apartment just 5 miles from the children's hospital where she worked. Life was stable, simple, and full of promise. But in 2017, Rachel's life intersected with someone who would eventually steal everything from her. That fall, she moved into her new apartment complex on Maplewood Drive. It was a quiet street lined with modest 2-story houses. Among her neighbors was David Whitman, a man in his early 40s who had lived there for nearly a decade. David presented himself as ordinary. He worked odd jobs, handyman repairs, landscaping, sometimes night shifts at a local warehouse. Neighbors described him as polite, though somewhat private. Often seen working in his yard or fixing things in his garage, he gave off the impression of a solitary but harmless man. Rachel first met David one evening when her car battery died in the parking lot. David offered to help jumpstart her vehicle. He smiled, introduced himself, and insisted that she call him anytime she needed assistance. It seemed like the beginning of a friendly, neighborly connection. At first, David's presence felt reassuring. He would wave when Rachel came home from late shifts. He brought her mail if it was accidentally delivered to his address. But soon, his helpfulness crossed boundaries. Rachel confided in her sister Emily about small things that made her uneasy. Emily later testified. She said David was always around, like too much. He'd show up at her door with tools even when she hadn't asked. He'd make comments like, "I worry about you living alone." At first, it seemed caring, but then it started to feel off. Rachel noticed that David seemed to know her schedule. He would casually mention when she had arrived home late or when she had left early in the morning. He commented on her outfits, her routines, even on her friends. Her co-worker Megan remembered. Rachel told me she thought David might have been watching her. But she didn't want to overreact. She said, "He's just a lonely neighbor. I don't want to make it awkward." She didn't know it yet, but she was being drawn into the orbit of a man whose obsession would escalate to something unthinkable. By late 2018, Rachel was actively avoiding David. She stopped answering his knocks at her door. She parked on the opposite side of the lot to avoid walking past his yard. But David didn't take the hint. He began leaving small gifts for Rachel. Flowers on her doorstep, a bag of her favorite snacks. Notes with phrases like, "You're too beautiful to be alone," or "We'd be perfect together." Rachel confided in her mother, Margaret. "She showed me one of the notes. It wasn't threatening, but it was strange. She was uncomfortable. I told her to be cautious, but none of us thought it would become dangerous." Then came February 2019. Rachel came home one night to find her living room window unlocked. Nothing was missing, but she felt something was wrong. She told her best friend Kelly, "I swear he's been inside. I can feel it. I just know it." Rachel considered calling the police, but without evidence of a crime, she hesitated. On June 22, 2019, Rachel finished her late shift at the hospital. Security cameras captured her leaving at 11:37 p.m. She drove home and was seen entering her apartment just after midnight. It would be the last time anyone saw her alive. The following morning, Rachel failed to show up for her 7 a.m. shift. Her co-workers tried calling, but her phone went straight to voicemail. By noon, her sister Emily drove to Rachel's apartment. Emily found Rachel's car parked outside. The lights inside were off, but the front door was slightly ajar. Inside, nothing looked disturbed at first. Her purse was on the counter. Her phone lay charging near the couch. But Rachel was gone. Emily called 911 at 12:47 p.m. Police arrived quickly and began a search. Neighbors were questioned. One of the first to speak was David Whitman. David told officers he had seen Rachel arrive home, but claimed he didn't notice anything unusual. But detectives were already suspicious. David was overly eager to talk. He provided details no one had asked for. He mentioned Rachel's clothing from the night before, even though no one had described it. Something didn't add up. The Dayton police launched a full investigation. For weeks, volunteers searched wooded areas, rivers, and abandoned lots. Flyers with Rachel's face were plastered across town. Detectives revisited David. Something about him didn't sit right. Neighbors mentioned seeing him outside late at night, digging in his backyard with a flashlight. Others recalled that his garage smelled strongly of bleach in the days after Rachel disappeared. Investigators obtained a warrant to search his property. On July 15, 2019, police entered David's backyard. Behind his garage, they found freshly turned soil covered with plywood and concealed under stacked firewood. Detectives began to dig. Within an hour, their shovels hit something solid. Wrapped in plastic and buried just 3 feet below the surface was the body of Rachel Turner. The coroner later confirmed that Rachel had been strangled. Her wrists bore marks consistent with restraints. The discovery sent shockwaves through Maplewood Drive. The perfect neighbor had been hiding a nightmare beneath his lawn. As the community reeled, detectives pieced together David's past. What they uncovered painted a picture of a man with a disturbing history. Born in 1976 in Springfield, Ohio, David's childhood appeared normal, but records showed a troubling pattern of behavior in adulthood. In 2001, he was investigated for stalking a co-worker. Charges were dropped after the victim moved away. In 2007, he was accused of breaking into an ex-girlfriend's apartment, though prosecutors lacked enough evidence to convict. In both cases, David portrayed himself as misunderstood. He convinced others he was simply too caring. Detective Laura Bennett later told reporters, he knew how to appear harmless. He blended in. He did just enough to make people doubt themselves. That's what made him so dangerous. David Whitman was arrested on July 16, 2019. He was charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and tampering with evidence. His trial began in February 2020 at the Montgomery County Courthouse. The courtroom was packed with Rachel's family, friends, and neighbors. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence. Rachel's DNA found in David's garage, surveillance footage placing him outside her apartment, and the handwritten notes recovered from his home. Rachel's sister Emily testified through tears. She told me she was scared. She said she thought he was watching her. I wish I had pushed her to go to the police sooner. David's defense argued mental instability, claiming he suffered from delusions and acted out of misplaced affection. But the jury wasn't convinced. After just 6 hours of deliberation, they returned a verdict: guilty on all counts. On March 3, 2020, David Whitman was sentenced to life in prison without parole. For Rachel's family, justice brought relief, but not closure. Her mother, Margaret, said outside the courthouse, "No sentence can bring Rachel back. But maybe by telling her story, we can prevent this from happening to someone else." In the months that followed, Rachel's family founded the Rachel Turner Foundation, dedicated to supporting victims of stalking and raising awareness about early warning signs. They partnered with local shelters and schools, teaching young people to recognize red flags and to trust their instincts. Each year, on March 14th, Rachel's birthday, friends and family gather in Dayton. They release lanterns into the night sky. They tell stories of her laughter, her kindness, and the life she should have lived. Rachel is remembered not for the way she died, but for the way she lived as a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a nurse who devoted her life to helping others. David Whitman seemed like the perfect neighbor. Polite, helpful, always nearby. But behind that mask was a predator hiding in plain sight. Rachel Turner's story is a reminder that appearances can deceive, that sometimes the people we trust most are the ones we should fear. Her life was full of promise. Her loss devastated a family and a community. But her legacy continues through the work done in her name. If you've ever felt unsafe, if someone's behavior has made you uncomfortable, trust your instincts, speak up, seek help. Because ignoring the red flags can have devastating consequences. Rachel's story deserves to be told, and it deserves to be remembered. If Rachel's story moved you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know how we can honor her memory and raise awareness together. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Evidence Uncovered, and turn on notifications so you never miss the stories that matter. Because behind every headline is a life, and every life deserves to be remembered.